So I will start my presentation.
Please, sir, please start it.
Yeah, my topic is pulsed electroacoustic system for space charge measurement. It's a research topic. Modeling, simulation, design, and development are covered in this topic. So I thank you. I thank Professor Piyush Verma and Dr. Balvinder Raj for inviting me for this short-term course at NITTR today. This topic is actually the content is from one of the papers of my research scholar, my student. Currently, he is in Royal Melbourne of Technology, Australia. So this is the paper, Modeling and Simulation of Pulsed Electroacoustic Measurement Method. So as I told, this is a research topic, so it may be, focusing on a particular area in depth. So I request everyone to pay attention. If you have any questions, you may please ask at the end of the presentation. So this is the background. HVDC is gaining importance over HVAC. High voltage DC transmission is gaining importance over high voltage AC transmission due to several reasons actually. Few of the reasons are given here. For example, break-even point we take. So this is the red one is AC transmission cost, capital cost, and this blue one is DC transmission capital cost, capital investment. So around 500 kilometers you can see it, AC cost increases over DC. So for more than 500 kilometers, better to go for a DC. That's what it says. And then again for submarine cables, this is the break-even point. AC cables versus DC cables, if you see. So here, around 50 kilometers itself, the break-even point comes. After that, AC cost will be more than DC. The reason is, beyond 50 kilometers, actually AC cable, cable means, it's a cylindrical capacitance, right? So apart from the load that is being delivered by the cable, its own impedance, because cable being, capacitive reactance, its own impedance will also take current under AC. It's not the case under DC. DC only during the transient condition, some current will be taken, charging current will be taken by the cable. After that, only load current will be there. But in case of AC, what happens is the cable, being a capacitor, it itself acts as a reactive impedance. So continuously, reactive current will be, actually cable will pump, leading reactive power will take. So the current, of course, I square R losses will be there. Apart from that, voltage will be different at the after the 50 kilometers, around 50 kilometers. What will happen? After 50 kilometers, we have to inject inductive reactive current. So in order to balance this one, otherwise we cannot do. So this increases the cost. In order to inject the inductive reactive current, you have to make certain arrangements. So every 50 kilometers, there should be some certain arrangement. Therefore, the AC cables, become costly for beyond 50 kilometers in case of submarine cables, or even underground also same situation. Have to arrange extra, reactive current in certain intervals. So this is about cables, and among HVDC cables and other advantages you can see. So grid A and grid B. So here for the AC transmission, you need to have same frequency. Cannot have different frequencies and. But if it is the DC transmission, so this is an asynchronous connection, means frequency in grid A can be 25 hertz and then here it can be 50 hertz. Of course, we don't have in our country such a situation, but in European countries, very small countries are there and then separated by islands, and sometimes they have interconnection between their grids, but one country operates at 25 hertz, another country operates at 50 hertz. So the only connection possible is DC. So this has an advantage, and also for if the grid is very large like India, southern grid, northern grid, and then these grids, if we want to connect them, when we connect them, there may be slight frequency differences, right? So if DC connection is there, it will not have adverse effect in case of the differences in frequencies. So it is preferable to have back-to-back DC connections. And further, power handling capacity also, in case of DC, the power handling capacity is more than AC in case. And additional effects such as right of way. Right of way means nowadays, land has become very costly, and even farmers are not ready to give the land for this transmission lines, huge transmission lines which occupy a lot of space. So what is preferred is underground cables. So they do not take away a lot of land, and then they are invisible even above that farmers use it to farming and all. Of course not allowed, but they use. So like this, and apart from that, cable length, stability, etc. Are in favor of high voltage DC transmission, and that too cable transmission is preferred. And apart from this, even in cities, distribution also nowadays becoming underground. We don't want overhead transmission lines passing through the city, and then overhead lines for supplying homes and all. So, for example, in bigger cities like Bangalore, Bombay, already underground distribution has come into picture where cables are being used. So this is the background. HVDC is gaining importance, and then power cables are gaining importance. So the transmission or distribution scenario is changing as far as the transmission lines are concerned, or underground cables are. So this is the background. So I will show you, these are the submarine cables that are typical structure of submarine cables is shown here. So you can see this is for AC case. So this is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, 3-phase and 3-core cable. This is called 3-core cable. Of course, some optical fiber cables are also embedded, communication cables also embedded to know the temperature conditions, etc. And here you can see the structure. So it is this is called metallic armor, and then it is completely sealed hermetically so that no moisture enters into the insulation. So in case of AC submarine case, it is needed that water should not ingress into the insulation and all. So this is another cable, similar structure is seen. So here the conductors, and after that you can see this is a cross-linked polyethylene insulation, XLPE insulation. So here this is also XLPE insulation. So for AC cable case, the material popularly used is cross-linked polyethylene, which is called XLPE. So these are the AC cables, typical AC cables, high voltage AC cables. And then in case of DC, XLPE and MI cables are shown here. This is XLPE cable. XLPE. Again, these are from Sumitomo Electric Company, where I have worked during my stay in Japan. So this is 400 kilovolts DCCB cable using XLPE insulation, and the other one is 500 kV PPLP MI. PPLP, polypropylene laminated paper. So here, this is actually kraft paper only, kraft paper. It is wound on the conductor, copper conductor, you can see. So the paper is actually laminated with a polypropylene film, and then the paper is also mass impregnated. Means MI means oil is impregnated into the paper. So to increase its insulation strength or to fill the small voids that exist in the paper. So these two are basically two types of insulation. Of course, fluid filled cables are also there, in which oil is filled into the tubes with cables surrounded by again paper insulation. So that is another type of cable. So this basically paper insulation and XLP insulation are two types of insulated cables are used for transmission of power using DC. So this is typically the installation ship that you can see. This is 1922, 21 kilometer long. It was longest in the world at that time. 21 kilometer long cable is wound here. This is cable wound on a ship. So you can see how big the construction will be compared to adjacent buildings. You can see here. So this is in Osaka, Japan, and then again this is the installation. Actually, the previous case you have seen simply cable lying on a ship. Here, this is the installation process. So it is installation process in submarine in sea. It's a big costly investment actually. So it is important. The importance is if such a installation if it fails at some point of time, you can imagine the time and energy or cost involved in repairing it, and also the design, proper design, and then preventing the failure is very, very important for such cables. Even in cities also, we can't afford to have, for distribution also, we can't afford to have breakdown. So if the cable breaks, you have to dig it and then find where exactly the breakdown has happened and then repair it, cut it, join it. All this process will take at least 1 day. So 1 day we can't afford to cut power to any area in a city. So therefore, proper design of cables and then addressing the problems of the cables is very, very important. So in cable insulation, you have seen just now. So oil impregnated cable insulation, oil filled cable insulation. These two will use paper actually. And this is old technology. The paper technology is very old and then it is established. But the problem here is the paper has to be wound on a conductor. It is the construction is a tedious process, and then once breakdown occurs, then joining it is not that easy because paper you have to remove carefully and then cut it and then connect it. So oil may spill over. So these issues are there as far as repair of this conventional HVDC insulation using paper. So currently the polyethylene is gaining momentum. So almost it has replaced all cables. Even in the distribution also, old cables are paper cables and new cables are polyethylene cables. Slowly they are replacing. And wherever they are not replaced, they are creating problems also. For example, in Bombay city, a lot of breakdowns are happening due to these old paper cables joining with polyethylene cables. So the latest insulation is the low density polyethylene or cross-linked polyethylene insulation, LDPE or XLPE. So LDPE is actually a base material, and XLPE is by cross-linking the LDPE we can obtain XLPE cables. So XLPE, this is the chemical structure of polymers, you can see. So basically, we will be using XLPE. But there are problems with XLPE. XLPE, the advantages are very easy manufacturing process. That extruding process, simply the material is melt and then put it on the conductor surface in a system what is known as extruder. So this is very simple process, and then we can put any number of layers of insulation with the semicon layer and then insulating and the inner semicon layer, such as several layers can be put. And then a very long lengths also it can be manufactured. So joining is also easy, repair is also easy. So XLPE is a favorable material, but it has certain disadvantages. So any problem with this polymeric insulation? So what happened? Let us see. Here, there was a cable laid during 1970s. So between Hokkaido is northern island, and then Honshu, that mainland. So there is a cable link here, not joint, link here. So what happened is, this cable, they have used this polymeric insulation only, cross-linked polyethylene. That oil impregnated paper cable, old cable, was replaced by this polymeric insulation cable. So what happened? So during polarity reversal, actually polarity reversal will happen in HVDC case to reverse the power flow. In old systems, polarity reversal is used. Nowadays, of course, current reversal is possible, but earlier voltage reversal has to be done. So plus voltage has to be made minus in order to reverse the power flow. So during the polarity reversal, that cable has broken down. So they have investigated and then found that certain charges were found inside the insulation. Actually, insulation is not supposed to store any charges, but the charges were found, the trapped charges. So what will happen if charges are present? They could increase the electric field, or they could alter the electric field situation inside the cable insulation. So this was investigated, and then detailed investigation. Actually, what will happen if charge is present inside the insulation? So actually, the dielectrics are expected to be not having any stored charges, ideal dielectrics. So this is the case actually. So here you can see there is a dielectric slab of thickness D inserted between electrode, high voltage electrode, and then ground electrode here. So when such a voltage is applied, what will happen actually? Inside the material will be polarized. Means the dipoles will tend to rotate and align in the direction of the electric field. So plus minus like this. So under this condition, actually, uniform electric field is expected. Means if you apply V voltage to a thickness of D, V by D is the electric field, and the electric field profile will follow this waveform. Means entire insulation. This is the this axis is the thickness axis 0 to D. So you can see the uniform electric field, simple lines, straight line, V by D, constant electric field. So this is what is ideally expected for the insulation. But what happens if there are some charges inside the insulation? So there are two types of actually charges found inside the insulation. One is called heterocharge formation. Heterocharge formation means adjacent to electrodes, opposite charge will be there. So here actually this positive voltage plus V. So then the plus charges will be on this plate actually, and then on the ground plate actually minus charges should be there. So what will happen if in the case of heterocharge formation, immediately inside the insulation the plus charges will be formed just adjacent to the insulation. Opposite charge will be formed. again at the top electrode also, again minus, 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 just adjacent to the electrode. If this kind of charge formation occurs, actually the plus charges have to, on the plate, have to increase. On this plate again minus charges have to increase. And ultimately the electric field distribution will be like this. So earlier the electric field distribution is shown by dotted line. Now due to this heterocharge, the charge formation is resulting in an electric field like this. So it means that at the edges means at x is equal to d thickness and x is equal to 0 thickness, the electric field is getting enhanced due to heterocharge formation. So anyway, see, since voltage is constant for a given voltage, of course, voltage is constant, the area under this curve should be same. So therefore, since the electric field is enhanced at the edges, obviously it has to dip at the middle of the insulation as shown. So since area is constant. But what is happening here is the electric field is getting distorted. It is not same everywhere in the insulation. Therefore, we are not using insulation to its optimum level. Somewhere the insulation is having higher electric stress. Wherever higher electric stress is there, their breakdown is possible. Or aging, higher aging is possible. So what is happening due to charge formation is the electric field is getting distorted. Somewhere it is distorted. Somewhere it is low, somewhere it is high. So this is another case here, homocharge formation. In this, adjacent to the electrode, same charge will be there. If electrode charge is plus, again inside also plus charges will be there, just adjacent. Electrode charge is negative, then again minus charges will be there, just adjacent to the electrode. In this case, the electric field is like this actually. Now at the edges, it decreases. But in the middle of the insulation, again, the field is increasing here in this portion. So the average electric field is shown. The uniform electric field is also shown by dotted curve here. So you can see clearly in the middle of the insulation, the electric field is high. And at the edges, it is low. Therefore, wherever it is high, again, there will be higher aging and other effects also. Therefore, what is the effect of this charge? Actually, ideally, dielectrics are not supposed to have charges inside, but due to these charges formation inside the dielectric material, the electric field is getting disturbed or distorted, and somewhere it is high, somewhere it is low. Wherever it is high, then the higher aging is expected, accelerated aging is expected, or that may result over a period of time as a breakdown of insulation. See, one thing we have to observe is failure at one place is equivalent to failure, because it is like a weak link mechanism. So weak link mechanism means if you have a chain like this, if one of the links fail, so it is failure only, even if the rest of the insulation does not fail. So that is why overstressing at a particular period, particular location is equivalent to stressing the insulation and then failing the entire insulation. Because one spot, if it burns everywhere. So that's what the meaning. So we are concerned with this charge formation, which is actually happening in the cross-linked polyethylene insulation. So these forced us to investigate actually. So what are the possible effects of this electric field distortion? We can have a look here. So there may be local electrical overstressing, that's what we have seen. Or somewhere the electric field is high. This may result in local degradation and breakdown of the insulation. And another is accelerated aging effect. Means, normal electric field aging is at normal rate, but if the electric field is over and above the average field, so there will be accelerated aging, and then life of insulation gets reduced in this process. And what will happen is may aid leakage or conduction current in the insulation. These charges may also aid in the leakage. so which may damage the insulation. And then we do not know, continued presence of charges inside that electric material may have, until now, we do not know what effects they will cause, because the electrics are supposed to be charge free. But if they are present continuously, what kind of reactions will take place, and then what kind of damage will take place, that maybe unknown effects may also be there. So that is why we have to address this charge formation. So in this, we found that it is important to know or measure these charge formation that is occurring inside the electric material. Can we measure in the laboratory? Take an XLPA sample and then find out what is the charge inside. So if we apply certain voltage, what is the charge? Because measurement is very crucial. Unless you measure, when you mitigate also, you do not know whether a charge has gone or not. So measurement technique is very, very important. So that's why we have investigated on what are all the methods available for measurement. So there are several methods. We can basically classify them under thermal methods, optical methods, and acoustic methods. See, for everyone to note here, the research topics, although they appear to be, focused in a particular area, but the research topics are always, multidisciplinary, because we are working with the electric materials charge inside, but we have investigated, modeled a transmission line, and actually telegraphist equations we have used. And then this so-called, these all methods, different methods, thermal methods, optical methods, acoustic methods, physics people may be more conversant with these such type of methods than engineers. But you see, these are all multidisciplinary things. So every research subject will be like this only. So you may be picking up a problem in your area, particular area, but you may need to address several things. So severally related things in several disciplines also, across the disciplines. So it is very important. So please focus. Based on this presentation, you will be able to understand how a research topic will be. So here, our objective is to measure the space charges, and where we ended up, you can see as the presentation progresses. Now, among these methods, we have investigated on this, pulsed electroacoustic method, which is actually having several advantages. So you can see the PEA method attracted the investigator due to minimum instrumentation required than any other space charge measurement, and it has the ability to measure thick samples with good resolution also. So acoustic wave is generated within the sample as compared to pressure wave propagation method, other method of course is compared to that method. So several advantages we found, and then PEA method, pulsed electroacoustic method, has been chosen for charge method. But once we have chosen this one, but the problem here is, the technology is available elsewhere in the world. So, but no one will give us technology to develop free of cost, right? So this is the problem. Even, it will be much simpler thing, even to develop any complex machinery also. If we know that, if we do not know, it is, like, Greek and Latin, we do not know. So like this, so although the commercial products are available, if we want to develop in our lab, we have to understand ourselves and then develop the technology ourselves. That is the situation. So what we have done, we have surveyed the literature, and then the literature, complete details of PA system are not available in the literature, because these technical details normally they are kept hidden, and then companies will be making commercial profits, etc. So that's why these details are not available. We have searched for the details. Therefore, designing and developing a new system which requires perfect understanding. First, we have to understand the system. Then only we can design and develop. This motivated me to look for modeling and simulation of PA system. So the PEA system, whatever is existing, let us model and simulate in a lab so that we understand perfectly. And by the way, we will be providing to the, contributing to the research that we have provided a method for understanding the PEA system in a perfect manner. So that's what motivated us to investigate this modeling and design of PEA system. So modeling and simulation of PEA system and design, of course, we have done. So this is the basic principle of pulsed electroacoustic method of charge measurement. So just I request everyone's attention here. Now you see here, this 0 to D, this space is the dielectric material or sample, whatever sample. So normally we use XLPA sample or any rubber sample or any insulation sample in which we are interested to measure the charge accumulated. The paper sample also can be used if you want to measure the charge inside the paper. So this is the dielectric specimen 0 to D, and here there is a backing material. For the time being, you assume this as same as electrode only. This entire thing is upper electrode, and here there is a ground electrode also. You can see here, and then after that there is a sensor, PVDF sensor. Then again backing material and electrode. So you can assume this as again electrode only. Backing material is electrode similar to electrode only, but it has acoustic properties similar to PVDF. So that makes it as a backing material. I will tell you what exactly the backing material is. Now this is the arrangement, electrode arrangement for measuring the space charge. And here you can see there is a DC source, and in series with that there is a coupling resistance. Then this is connected to the sample. Here this ground electrode it is connected, and then upper electrode it is connected. So this DC is being continuously applied to this dielectric specimen. Okay. So what will happen once DC is continuously applied? So over a period of time, right from the T is equal to 0 when you started this application of DC voltage, over a period of time charges will accumulate. So obviously when the plus electrode is connected to plus terminal, here the plus charges will be on this electrode. These are interfacial charges, just like capacitor only. So here again the negative charges will be there on the ground electrode here. And in between, of course, if dielectric is pure, there should not be ideal, there should not be any charges, but there may be certain charge accumulation inside this, I have shown by some plus. So this is the accumulated charge inside the dielectric specimen or the sample. Now you can see one more electrical source here shown by E of T. This is actually a pulse source of very small duration, nanosecond duration. It will be like very sharp pulse like this, whose thickness is in few nanoseconds. We have developed the device up to 3 nanoseconds. The pulse duration or width at half height we say is 3 nanoseconds. So it is a very sharp pulse, and it is connected through a capacitor, and then it is connected to the the sample again. Now what is its effect actually? Suppose you are injecting the pulses or applying the pulses at a certain frequency, or of course in a regular intervals, otherwise you cannot see the signal on the oscilloscope continuously. So at a regular frequency you will be impinging these pulses. Actually these pulses being very sharp duration, they will not have any drastic effect on the space charge formation, but they do have certain effect. What is that effect actually? So whenever this pulse, short duration pulse appears, it will impinge in a force on all the charges in the dielectric material, including the surface charges also. Surface charges means this plus charges at the positive electrode and minus charges at the negative electrode, as well as the charges inside the dielectric material. And all these charges, there will be force. Positive charge will experience force in the downwards direction, negative charge will experience force in the upward direction. So the direction is also different for the different forces, different charges. So this force created in the dielectric specimen will develop a wave. That wave is an acoustic wave, or pressure wave, or force wave. So that pressure wave actually travels in either direction, upper direction also, lower direction also. But what we have done is the PVDF sensor. This sensor is actually piezoelectric sensor, means it will convert force or pressure into voltage. So the voltage across this sample is directly proportional to the pressure. Now what will happen, the moment a pulse appears, this pulse appears, established charges due to DC will experience a force. That force is a pressure which is a wave in space actually. That wave travels in either direction, and through this ground plane whichever wave travels and reaches the PVDF sensor, this will develop a voltage wave proportional to this force. So that is exactly the charge profile like this. Ideal, we will have only two peaks, right? At a positive anode, one positive peak, and then cathode negative peak we will have. So these two peaks clearly we can obtain, and if there is some charge in between, you may get one more peak, something like this. So this way, the charge existing inside the dielectric material can be measured using a pulse source, which the pulse source acts as a probing pulse actually. You are creating a pressure wave by applying these electric pulses. So the pressure wave generated travels through the ground electrode and reaches the PVDF sensor, and where it is converted into electrical signal, and which is amplified and then fed to oscilloscope. Here at the oscilloscope you will read a waveform which is directly proportional to the charge present inside the electric material. This is the basic principle of pulsed electroacoustic method. Of course, this has several applications. Somebody else may be working on some other research where he needs to develop a pressure wave, convert a pressure wave into electrical signal. So for that also this is a relevant research. So here the various waves are given here clearly in this figure. So you can see how the wave travels in either direction. Here you can see downward direction also, upward direction also. So at interfacial charge, you will have some generated acoustic wave which will travel in either direction, and here in between also two directions the wave will travel. But we are capturing the signal at downward direction only. So all this will come here, this will come here, and this will also come here on the sensor. Of course, there will be a delay because if you assume certain velocity of propagation of wave, so there will be appropriate delay of reaching of these signals. The first this will come, next this will come, and then next this will come. So by studying the time delays, you can clearly see which is which charge, or for example, between these interfacial charges. So this embedded charge is in between charge only. So depending on the times of their arrival, so here you will get an electrical signal in the PVDF sensor, which is having different times. So based on the times you can calculate which signal corresponds to which position in the dielectric material. So which charge corresponds to which position in the dielectric. This is how the PEA system is working. That is the basic principle. But to design and develop, of course, the principle is available everywhere in the literature. But the problem is to design. There are a lot of problems when you actually start making an equipment. Unless you understand it perfectly, designing and developing will not be that easy. So that's where, people make commercial benefits out of it. So we have investigated how to design. For example, what is the material of ground electrode? What should be the material of PVDF? What are the properties? What is the dimensions required? So all these are very important. For example, if these reflections, whatever waves which are going and going, so they may get reflected and then come back. If that mixes with our signal, then you cannot actually estimate the space charge. Only reflected signals you will see. So it's a complex problem. So to understand this, what we have done, the modeling of the electric circuit. Actually, it has two parts. This portion, just let me erase once. So this portion is actually electrical only, right? But there is another portion where acoustic signal is traveling here. So we have modeled these two systems. Two systems are interactive actually. When this electrical system impinges a pulse, an acoustic wave is generated here. So how to model this complex system? So that's what we have investigated here. Here in this page you can see electrical circuit. So electrical circuit, there is a pulse source here and there is a cable. That pulse has to travel through a cable. And there are some, arrangements for avoiding the reflections, etc. So this is the dielectric sample. And then there is a capacitor here. And then here the DC source and resistance. This is the electrical system, modeling of the electrical system, and very easy. And so then modeling of acoustic system. What is done here is, so the analogy has been used. Say acoustic, all waves behave more or less similarly, and their behavior is governed by wave phenomena. So that concept is used here. So although we are studying acoustic system, that acoustic system means sound waves, etc. We have modeled it as an electrical system because we are electrical people, much familiar with electrical systems. So the acoustic system is modeled as an electrical system by using the analogy between the acoustics. The analogy of acoustic wave propagation is similar to electromagnetic waves actually. So all electrodes, samples, backing materials have been modeled as transmission lines. So this our electrical transmission line, so on that also the waves, the electricity, the voltage or current will travel like waves only. So that model we have used for understanding the acoustic waves. Now transducer has been modeled with Leeds model of transducer, and then attenuation of acoustic waves has been incorporated using lossy transmission line. See, wave attenuation means loss in the peak magnitude actually. So attenuation of acoustic wave is modeled as a lossy transmission line. So here in this figure, the voltage source V denotes interfacial acoustic. So this here you can see this is one interfacial, this another interfacial. Actually this is a sample which is also modeled as a transmission line. Now sample became a transmission line. Backing material became a transmission line. Upper electrode became a transmission line. So ground electrode also became a transmission because through which the wave travels. Through the ground electrode, wave travels. When it travels through the ground electrode, how it gets attenuated and how it is getting dispersed and all. So these need to be modeled so to understand the system. Therefore, everything is modeled as a transmission line. Now, after careful thought, it is modeled as a source in series with two transmission lines, just like this, interfacial charge. And again, after transducer, that is PVDF transducer, again backing material is there and electrode is there, you can see here. So entire this system is modeled as a transmission line like this. Now, after modeling this transmission line, actually what is the basis? The basis is the telegraphist equations. So, you know, right, minus dou V by dou X, the voltage with respect to distance, X is R into I current actually, into plus L into dI by dt, dou I by dt. Because on series transmission line, series resistance and inductance are the parameters. And for shunt branch, you will have again shunt conductance and then capacitance are the parameters. If you remember the transmission line model. So here this is for voltage equation, this is for current equation. Of course, these are coupled equations. So these coupled equations are known as telegraphist equations or transmission line equations for electrical engineers. And these are governed by two parameters. One is characteristic impedance R plus j omega L by G plus j omega C. Another is propagation constant given by root of R plus j omega L into G plus j omega C, alpha plus j beta. Now, these R, L, G, C are resistance, inductance, conductance and capacitance parameters of a transmission line. But now we are studying acoustic system. So what these parameters will be? So that using analogy, these parameters are obtained like this, 2 rho R resistive parameter is 2 rho U A alpha and the inductive parameter is A rho like this. So where rho is the density of the materials in kg per cubic meter, U is the acoustic velocity and A is the area of cross section of the electrode in meters, square meters, and alpha TC etc. attenuation coefficients to viscous losses and thermal conductance. Alpha TC is thermal. So in Nepers per meter. So these parameters are calculated and then the model is developed. In the model, we have simulated that in T-Spice software. Of course, any circuit simulation software can be used. So after simulating, we have after modeling, we have simulated that in T-Spice software and compared our results with the experimental system. By that time, we have purchased one system also, commercial system, very small system. So we have compared. You can see the charge estimated using PA system, modeled PA system, and this is actual measured charge in the laboratory using the commercial system, PA system. You can see the remarkable similarity of these two signals. This is actually cathode, this is anode peak, and of course inside there is almost no charge. Again here this is cathode peak and this is anode. So after successfully simulating that one, now understanding becomes easy because you can put anywhere any source and then find out its effect. So this is what we have simulated here. Effect of reflections, various reflections have been studied, where the signals are going and how the signals are coming. here and there. So with this, what is the effect of how the signals at ground electrode are getting reflected and all. So here you can see these are all peaks. These are all reflections actually of one particular electrode only. And here again, these are all reflections of another particular electrode. Therefore, when you get the signal like this, you should ensure that this signal won't come in between this. Actually, this is the space charge signal, anode and cathode. But in between, if this comes, then it's a problem. So the design has to be properly, the thickness of various electrodes, etc., has to be properly designed in order to avoid the signals interfering with each other. So similarly, we have understood the effect of thickness of ground electrode. See here, false value due to reflection. Actually, this should have come in between, but this reflection has entered inside. We may think that after measuring that this is the space charge, oh, there is some space charge somewhere in between. But that is not the case. This is due to improper design. It has happened like that. So proper design will take care like this. There will be no reflection coming inside in between the electrode. For that, this is the condition that has been found. It has to be incorporated in such a way that the ground electrode thickness should be more than the DSA into V ground by VSA, where V ground and VSA are acoustic velocities in sample. DSA is sample thickness. So this condition has to be followed in order to avoid this kind of interference. So similarly, effect of pulse voltage, whatever 3 nanosecond pulse voltage I told, no? So that pulse wave shape also matters. If there is a peak like this, so that peak will reflect in a peak here and then here. You can see clearly. So this should not be mistaken as stored charge inside the electric. So similarly, the effect of thickness of PVDF transducer also. If the transducer is very thick, the peak is very small. But if the transducer is very thin, very small thickness, then the peak is very high. So it means that very small thick transducer will give you very sharp resolution and all. So high resolution. So you can understand these are all aspects. Of course, some of them are known, but complete intricacies of the system are understood using the modeling. And effect of backing material. What is the backing material? Is actually it is a matching impedance. So in order to avoid the reflections, minimize the reflections, the backing materials are used. So the wave which is generated, if it gets multiple reflections, what will happen? The reflections may enter into the active portion of the signal and then mislead us that as a charge signal. So therefore, we have to avoid these reflections. In order to avoid, at various places backing materials are used. Already I have shown when the system is explained. So this is, of course, effect of backing materials is also studied. So these are all things were possible with our analogy of PA system with transmission line. So after understanding the design effects, we have actually designed and developed a PA system in our laboratory. So this is the design of our PA system. Electrode dimensions are given here, and then various voltages, and then sensor thickness. All these are all given here, and a schematic diagram is given here. This is the pulse source. This is the high voltage source, and this is the HV electrode here, and then this is the sample. This is the sample. And here the sensor is placed at the bottom. There is a backing material also and an amplifier connected like this. And this signal is fed to oscilloscope. Of course, you have the cabling, etc. should be very carefully used. Length of the leads should be minimum in order to avoid oscillations, etc. So that care has to be taken in developing the system. So the developed system is shown here in this figure, and after that, this is the bottom view of the developed system. After that, we have measured a space charge in low density polyethylene. You can see this is cathode, this is anode, and some charge inside the insulation also can be seen. Here, this is for low density polyethylene again for 200 micrometers. Of course, these are raw signals. There is a process known as deconvolution, because the system is having a transfer function. It's not that straight that the force signal, whatever is developed, directly proportional to, it's not directly proportional to the charge. Actually, it goes through the transfer function, or gets convoluted with the transfer function. So for that, deconvolution has to be done, which is done by one of my other students actually. So that is reported in another paper, of course. So here, that is calculation process that is not discussed here. So this is how the charges are measured. Actually, the movement of charge packet inside the insulation has also been developed. Actually, has also been observed here. So from anode, in the low density polyethylene, this charge peak is observed to move inside the dielectric material actually. So this is a phenomenon known as charge packet movement, is not yet understood. So a lot of scope for research is also there to understand this one. This phenomenon occurs beyond 100 kilovolt per mm, typically 100 kV per mm. So if we understand this, of course, there may be possibility of understanding the dielectric materials in a better way. So that may result in optimum utilization of dielectric material, and then minimizing the size of the power equipment in future. So this is how the charge pocket has been observed in the laboratory using this system. Actually, here the charge packet movement is shown here. So here these are color maps actually. We have applied voltage in steps, went on increasing the voltage, step voltage. So at a different step level, what is the charge, how the charge is moving has been observed. Actually, this is cathode, this is anode. 0 is 0 to 100 microns is the sample thickness, and this is time axis. Now this at first step, this is the waveform. So after applying first step, with the time what is happening, the charge peak is moving into the insulation like this. Charge peak, actually inside there should be no charge, but charge peak clearly you can observe here is moving inside the insulation. After 10 minutes, so this is the situation. After 10 minutes, again voltage is stepped up, and but the charge peak which is moved inside is continuing here. You can see all along. Some small disturbance here and there, and then again there is some disturbance here. You can see this is a also negative charge has come. Now negative charge peak has come inside the insulation, and positive charge peak is continuing like this. So this is very dynamic situation actually. So this is having effect on the electric field like this. Actually, electric field is uniform like this in the beginning. Uniform means almost this is a straight line. But with the time, within 10 minutes, it increased, the peak increased here. The peak still increased in the next step. Next step, it is still peaky. So you can observe the average electric field is around 100 kilovolt per mm. You can see it has gone up to 150 kilovolt per mm inside the insulation. So it is nearly touching 200 here after third step. So after that, you can see very dynamic changes in the electric field. These are all must be having some drastic effects on aging or failure of the dielectric material. So this is what is observed in our laboratory using the system developed system. Of course, there is a scope for future work. Lot of scope is there. For example, the same system can be simulated using COMSOL multiphysics, even involving the physics there. So, and the space charge phenomena, this homo-hetero charge and then charge packet coming from the electrodes need a lot of investigations. Analytical model also need to be developed, And then there is a case actually cables. Sometimes you have multi-layer cables. Inside rubber insulation will be there, and over and above some XLP insulation will be there, or vice versa. And there may be some other cover, PVC cover, something like that. So what is the effect of these different layers and how the charges are distributed inside? This is again very interesting work. So this is the system that is commercial system available at our lab. This was the first system we purchased, and then after that we have also developed our own system. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for attention. If you have any questions, you may please ask.